Your journey has been an interesting one up to here. You've questioned so much more than those around you. You've even questioned yourself as to how you could have grown into these thoughts. Am I crazy? When did I begin to think differently? Why do people in general appear so limited in their thought process? Rest assured, you are not alone. The world is slowly waking up to what you already know inside, yet can't quite verbalize. Welcome to the Spiritual Dope Podcast, the show that answers the questions you never even knew to ask, but needed the answers to. Questions about you, this world, the people in it. Most importantly, how do I proceed now moving forward? We don't claim to have all the answers, but we sure do love living in the question. Time for another hit of Spiritual Dope with your host, Brandon Henley. Let's get right into today's episode.
Hey, Spiritual Dope. I am on here today with Kimberly Hoffman Davis. Kimberly has her website, solelytransformation.com, and she and I got connected. I believe you and I got connected through his face is David Sandercott, right? I was like, oh man, I'm gonna blank for a second, but David had been on the podcast, and I said, Dave, man, who do you think would make a great fit for this podcast? And he said Kim would be awesome for this podcast. Kim, why don't you do me a huge favor and just give like a high level about, where you're at, what you're about, and then we can take it from there.
All right. So I dove into this because I spent, 20 years just suffering from PTSD, from depression, anxiety, all that grossness. And I stepped into the spirituality probably about 5 years ago. And then from there, I learned energy healing, and it took me on this beautiful journey. So now I'm an Akashic Records practitioner, and I activate people's primary gifts and their starseed energy. And I also do the energy healing through soul therapy, which is really great.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. So I always like to start these off with the whole idea that you and I are, basically just source energy vehicles, right? Source is speaking through us to somebody else, and we're just here to deliver that message to that person whenever that person needs that message, right? So you're on this podcast and you're speaking to one of the listeners. What's that message that's coming through you to them today?
That message is definitely that you are so much more than you think you are. You are an amazing and divine being. And it is just incredible as I laugh about the person that just walked behind you. And that was for me. I'm sure that was for me to loosen up and get into the fun of this. But I mean, dang, you really are just so loved, so seen, and so appreciated.
People don't think that they are. A lot of people don't think that they're having an impact. A lot of people don't think that they're seen. And chances are, though, you're being seen, you're having an impact. And I think that on top of that, it's your choice on what kind of impact you want to have. And I think that the first person that you get to have that impact on is yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And once you kind of have that impact on yourself and realize that there might be a little bit more to you than, the bag of bones and, blood and skin, then you start a kind of a cool transformational journey. Now, you said that, that you started this for yourself about 5 years ago, working through some PTSD. What was, what did that look like for you? Like, what were you trying to deal with, that led you to the energy healing?
Oh man. So with the PTSD, it was coming in like all directions. So I didn't want to get up off the couch. I'm a mom, and it was really affecting me and my parenting with my kids, which is the big driving force that set me on that stage. It was like, I'm afraid to go to the store. I'm afraid of what people think of me. I don't want to be seen. I just want to hide in this shell, like as small as I could possibly get. And then I saw the impact that was having on my children. And it really opened my eyes to be like, whoa, what is happening here? So I started digging for self-help books, and then that led me into past life regression. And that's where my spirituality started, was with past life regression.
Around fatherhood, right? And just kind of being a good dad and trying to be the best kind of dad that it could be, and the influence that we have on our children, and how our children are almost like an immediate reflection as to who we are. So it sounds like you were seeing that reflection of who you were in your children, and you were like, I can't keep doing this. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that is more than fair to say. I saw it big time in my son,
Yeah.
and it was so sad. Like
Mm.
just that crippling feeling as a parent going, did I do this?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, and you look, I mean, and especially I think a mother more so than a father it feels that on a different level.
Mhm.
But to see some of what you're doing show up in your children, you know, and you don't you're not liking it, and you're like, man, that came from me. I was like, and you're just kind of like, shit, this has got to change. So you're doing the research and you're digging into the personal development. What was the book? I mean, do you remember the book that was like, hey, past life regression, let's go?
The very first book that I read was Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss. And once I read the first one, I was like, I ordered the next, I think, 5 and just bam, 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 read them all.
20 books, let me get them all. Right. And then so then you do this past life regression, and what happens next? Where did that take you?
Oh my gosh, that took me on such a journey. So I was so interested, read the books, like I said, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get one. I want to get a past life regression done to see what comes out. And when I did that, like it brought up 3 different past lives, and the one that just it seriously took a grasp on me and really got into my skin and underneath, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god. I was a young woman, and I committed suicide by driving my car into a lake. I drowned myself, and it was because I couldn't handle life. I couldn't handle the world. I felt like it was all just too much, and I was like, oh my gosh, why is it that I had a past life where I actually went through with it, when at the time that I'd had this regression done just a few years prior, I was in that space. I was like, I don't want to live anymore. It's just too hard. And I had that done, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this from this past life? Could it be? Am I carrying stuff over into this life? And it's a very good possibility. Going through even further, it became like, yes, part of that was carried into this life. It is a lesson that you absolutely need to learn in how to live a fulfilling life.
Go in, you go through this regression, and immediately impacted, and you're able to make this connection. And I guess I'd have to ask too, before you even dove into past life regression, before you had even ventured into going to get it done, were you already be smitten by like spirituality or anything like that? Or what type of person were you prior to delving in?
I would say I was a very confused person prior to that. So I grew up Christian, and we went to church every so rare occasion. But I remember being in high school, being a teenager, and I told my mom, I'm like, listen, I don't believe in God. This stuff is crap. Like, God would not put you through any sort of this turmoil that I am feeling right now. She slapped me. She absolutely slapped me. I was like, okay, well, whatever. And from that point on, I was like, I know there's something out there. I know there's something greater than what I am, but I just could not attribute it to being this man with a white beard in the sky, and he's like, got his little gavel of I'm judging you, good and evil, and that sort of thing. And it really took me on to like everything's energy. Like everything in our universe is energy. Where do people go when they die? Do their souls live on? And then it took me into, I believe that everybody's still out there. Like people don't really die. They're just they're in the energy consciousness and they continue on.
You'd already kind of stumbled onto that idea prior to the past life regression, is what I'm
Yep.
hearing. So you'd already kind of had this feeling. So you went into it already with somewhat of an open mind and an idea of what was available. You just didn't know or have any specifics or kind of any guidance for that. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That is absolutely fair.
So then, all right, you go and you get the past life regression. You're like, did that have like a therapeutic impact? I guess, did it had an impact on your PTSD, or help walk me through that part?
You know, I was really hoping that it was going to have that therapeutic impact on the PTSD. And in reality, it kind of made it worse, because I went down this rabbit hole of what's wrong with me. Why am I not good enough? Like, what, I did this in a past life. Now I'm trying to do it in this life. And it did. But I did take into consideration that from another perspective, I did have a past life where I was a big old burly dude with an awesome beard, and I had a wife and I had a child, and I was, going off to start the revolution in like the 1500s. We were going to go see the king and overtake the throne. And, so there is that where I was like, okay, just pull in that strength. Pull in that strength. And I just kept asking myself and asking my guides and asking whoever would listen out there in the universe, like, please give me the strength to be that person.
So you're reaching out to a higher power, right? You've got an idea of a core of who you'd like to be, of who you've been in the past, and a good core. And not every past Kim has been, in suffering, deep suffering, or kind of despair. And you want to be able to bring that past Kim/him forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So I mean, there were some benefits, right? Sounds like the first part of it was this is not super beneficial. Why did I do this? Maybe a little bit, and then kind of beating yourself up a little bit. But I mean, eventually it kind of turns a curve. Where's the idea that says, holy shit, this is for me, and this is how I'm going to live the rest of my life? Where's that happen?
Where does that happen? So that actually happened about 1.5 years ago. And I was holding my youngest, my little one, and I was just looking at her, rocking her, and I just looked into her eyes, and she looked at me in a gaze that I had never, ever experienced in my life before. And I was like, oh my gosh, this child is so special. She's peering into my soul, and she is grateful. And it was in that moment that I just heard like this message that was, I chose you. And that blew my mind. It completely blew my mind. And I was like, wow, I want to feel that deep connection with other people too.
Yeah, that's the part where, children are a gift, right? And while we're changing diapers and not getting any sleep and all this other stuff, we're like, who the hell said this, right? Who the hell's the person that came up with the children are a blessing? But they're the ones that really help you to, if you don't already have the capacity, or if you've never truly loved unconditionally or felt unconditional love. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about. You're seeing it, you're feeling it, and you're experiencing it. And you're like, how can I do this with like everybody? What's that look like? So, through, and how old was your youngest at the time?
She's about 1 year, 1.5 years.
Okay. Yeah. Fresh, right? Just kind of looking at you. So, and then, so about 1.5 years, you just decide, were you already certified? Had you already dove into some of your certifications? Walk me through some of that.
So I had started the process on like a coaching certification. And that was where I wanted to be. Like, I grew up wanting to go into psychology and wanting to learn about that behavior, human behavior, psychology, all that stuff. It always fascinated me. But I went a different route and got a graphics design degree, which is totally off topic. But I had started like a coaching certification because I was like, well, I don't want to be tied down by all this red tape. So maybe I can help people in this way through a coaching certification. That's, you know, the Love and Authenticity Practitioner certification that I got. Going through that, I started feeling energy more and more though. And I continued on to get an energy healing certification through GeoLove Healing. And then from there, I even took it even further, and I was like, whoa, my gifts are coming in. What is this? I mean, that is the point where the craziness and the weirdness that we can be like, oh, what if people think I'm weird? And I was definitely in that space, and I was like, but I'm going to keep going because I'm so fascinated. And then I got my Akashic Records certification.
That part, right? I think that's a huge part. Would you call that with the part of your gifts that started flooding in? Would you call that an awakening of sorts? What would you call that? Where you noticed this transformation that was happening with you?
It was definitely an awakening. Absolutely. Huge transformation started to take place. Going from being, I don't want to be seen, I just want to be this small thing in my shell, to somebody please let me be free. And honestly, the person that I needed to let me be free was me. I needed to give myself permission to be free. And once I did, it skyrocketed. It just kept going level by level by level. The gift was coming in full force because I went through an activation during the energy healing course to get that activated. But the more that I put into it and the more I just trusted in myself and trusted in source, the more receptive I became and the more awakened I became.
And then when you're sharing some of these ideas with people that are close to you, what's that look like? And is that something, again, are you scared? Is there some fear in sharing that with some others, or are you starting to develop this faith in who you are and you're like, I don't care?
I was definitely scared at first because it was like, this is really woo woo and people think that you're crazy nuts, or maybe you belong in the crazy house with the straight jacket on. Definitely had my fair share of that programming growing up and even into wanting to share this. But I was so excited with what I had learned and what I could give to people as well, like gift them, like the messages that I was gifted by others that I could now gift out to other people as well. I started getting so excited that I would tell my mom and she'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. This sounds so weird. Like, what is going on with you? What happened? You used to be normal. And I'm like, weird is a side effect of awesome. Come on, who wants to be normal? It's boring. And not too long ago, actually, my brother told me that his wife is like, your sister's getting really weird. And I just laughed because, by a couple weeks ago, I was like, I don't care. You
Right.
think I'm weird, but you're over there, playing pity party, and I'm over here having the time of my life.
Right.
I'm more than happy to be weird and let it all out and help people.
Sure. I mean, if you can be happy with what you're doing and you're helping people to get to a place where they're able to have their gifts activated the way that yours were, and what the hell, right? And it doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess too, if their idea of normal is what is their idea of normal, and then be like, well, that's good for you. I'm gonna go ahead and keep rolling this way, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what does it look like, I guess, for somebody to do an Akashic record session with you? Activating my gifts. Can you activate, if we had 15 minutes, can I get 1 of 20 gifts activated? What's happening? How's this work?
So we'll go with first on like the Akashic Record session. It's very loving. It is non-judgmental.
Hold on, Kim, 1 second, Kim, real quick. Before we get into it, though, what is like if and I know that 2 people I talked to recently, like, what is the Akashic? Right? What are the Akashic records? Like, what is that? So let's start. Like, what is that? Tell us a little bit about what the Akashic records are, and then let's dig into it.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. So the Akashic records it is everything, every thought, every emotion, every action, whether it's future, past, present. So even if you had a thought that you're like, oh, maybe I could do this. And you're like, oh, no, that's wrong. It's recorded in the Akashic records. So this is the infinite supercomputer. If you go in like the terms of the 3D world, it is like infinite supercomputer. And in terms of, if you want to look at it in string theory, it is the connection that is to every dimension, every reality, every possibility. Everything is recorded in it.
All and is all. So if I ask what I had for dinner tonight, like, you should be able to figure that out. All good. I'm not going to put you on the spot for that, but and I guess I think one of the most recently well-known people that I'm aware of that they figured tapped into that. I can think of 2 offhand, and that's I want to say Nikola Tesla, and I want to say like Edgar. Is it Edgar Casey?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Yep. Both of them.
That's it for me in Akashic record knowledge on those 2 people. So let's talk a little. So yeah, let's talk a bit about what it looks like to do a session with you on that. What's that look like?
Okay, so what it looks like, and it's a place it's a sacred space. So I create this bubble around us, and it's full of love. It is non-judgmental. You will feel like you can just express anything because I'm able to see it in the records anyway. But what it is you just come in and you're like, okay, I'd like to know maybe this and this. Where am I going? What's my path? Sometimes people ask about their past lives. However it comes is great. And I always like people to ask 2 or 3 questions. Have them ready. What is it that you want to know from the records? And then as we dive through it, more information is going to come in because there are answers out there that are always seeking you for your highest good. So those will flow in as well. It's an hour and a half of, hey, let's find out who you really are underneath it all. Who's your divine soul being? And where are they taking you? Where's your higher self taking you?
Are there multiple sessions? Is it kind of one and done, follow-up sessions? What's that look like? Or does it go from like an Akashic record session to maybe some coaching from the outcomes? I mean, what's that whole process look like?
So it's all going to be individualized for the person. There are people that are like one and done. They got the information that they were looking for, and it was just enough that they were able to step on to the next piece of their life because they'd already been on this journey for a while and they knew where they were going. And then I have the people that are like, let's do multiple sessions because in this session we are going to do with level 1, and then we're going to do with level 2, and then we're going to do with level 3. With all of my sessions, there's already coaching built into it anyway. So that is a part of it. And then from there, if people are that interested in having all those tools, that they would like to have them at their disposal and not have to go see somebody every time, is I also teach people how to read their own records and how to ask those questions, how to access, how to get to the heart of it, to the heart of that information that they're seeking, and to be able to pull in the information that's seeking them. So they have all those tools at their fingertips already.
So you're saying you can, are you saying, I mean, is it a skill or an ability then, I guess, to tap into the Akashic records?
It's a little of both. It's a little of both. So we actually all have the ability to tap in. We are all divine beings. We are all connected to the records. The skill comes in how and what state are you in? Are you ready? Are you ready for that? So the skills are going to come with practice, making sure that you're really trusting and believing in yourself, getting rid of the limiting beliefs and the programming to get to that point where you have that ability to access. Once you're able to access, your ability is going to take off and it's going to skyrocket.
That's fantastic. And so that's something that you work with people to get to a place that they can get to with you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Who
I want everybody to get there.
I love it. The who would you say has been your primary clientele? Like who do you work with most? Who's coming to you? What are you seeing?
What I'm seeing is my primary clientele is a lot of women that are just tired. They have been through the crap relationships. They have been through the crap jobs. They've put themselves out there so much. It's like the people pleaser type that's, I've given so much away. Now it's time for me. And then on the other side of that, I also have been seeing a lot of parents coming through. Parents that want to be better for their kids. Parents that want to be able to access to help their kids, to support their kids, to be the best version of themselves. I mean, I know a lot of people are starting to feel the shifts and waking up and they're like, wow, okay. And they're starting to see that, kids are actually gifted before it's shut down. And then once we shut it down as parents, we got to open it back up. We got to create that space.
It's something that we've certainly been cognizant of in our children, and seeing a little bit of both ways, right? Accidentally shutting it down, right? But like, oh shit, I didn't mean to kill that forever. I just really wanted to finish my dinner or whatever, right? I mean, but they're so sensitive to that, and the weight that we carry as parents is just it's almost immeasurable. I'm sure you could probably remember a couple times outside of getting slapped over Jesus. I'm sure you've got moments in your life where like you just wanted to really shine and flourish, and like your parents were like, they said something that just shut it all down, right? They shut it all down, and you never did it again, right? You're like, all right, screw it. I guess I shouldn't have thought that way. I shouldn't have done it. No, I'll just never do it again. And then, that kind of cuts something off for you. So it's a great point that you bring up, right? To be aware of how powerful you are as a parent.
Yes.
To know that
Absolutely.
you can help to nurture that, which takes a significant amount of effort. And it's also really imperative to understand that you can shut it down for life in just an instant. And trying to get that back open is a challenge. I think that, Kim, you realize that, and just trying to reopen yourself right into some of the things and the spaces that you believe and love in. And I know it's been the same for me. I'm like, well, why would I step into that? So-and-so in my family said that was a bad idea. And I believe them. Those are the authority figures in my mind, right? That say, hey, don't do that or don't act that way. So, give me a little bit of like maybe your ideal client. Like, who do you want to have reaching out to you? Who are you trying to reach?
I am actually trying to reach parents at this point, because I am seeing so many kids trying to deal with not just the external world. Like, we've had the pandemic and we have all of the stuff going on around us, the fear that's coming out, and the social media, and how many times have you been sitting at the dinner table and your kid's like, phone? And it's like, no phones at the dinner table. Like, go outside, go play. And they don't want to go outside because, well, what happens if they catch the And so I'm seeing so much fear and so many kids like having a really rough time over like the last school year and everything, and parents trying to help them manage this, but at the same time they're having troubles managing themselves because of all of it as well. So I'm really trying to reach parents at this point, like, let's get you back to your full self,
Right.
because I know you don't want to see your kid like this. And once you're back at your full self, we're then going to work on how you can be that support system and how you can help heal your kids. I want to teach parents how to heal energetically themselves and their kids. So like, here, take these tools. You're going to heal yourself. And now you're going to be able to heal your kids.
Nice. Well, awesome. So we're at a point now where I kind of get to the whole idea of this. This is like a spiritual speed dating show, right? So basically, right now, somebody's tuning in and they're looking for the next. They're looking for the next spiritual date, as it were. And I like to just kind of hit it like that, right? So I'm going to ask you one or two questions. Spiritual bachelorette number one. I'm sure that I believe you're, involved and you've got your children. So I'm not saying that you're available. So what are we all so afraid of?
I honestly think we're all so afraid of ego death. A lot of people will say, I'm afraid to die. I don't know what's out there. The Christians are like, well, I could go to heaven, or maybe I haven't done enough and I'm going to go to hell. But I honestly think people are so afraid of ego death, because that's the part of us that kind of does that whole, like, let's protect, let's put you in that shell. And ego death means stepping outside the comfort zone. It means no longer fitting the mold of society.
I like it. When you mean, outside the molds of society, ego, what does an ego death look like? What does that mean? So what would that experience be?
It would definitely be, okay, I thought I was the shit at this, and now I realize I'm not as much of a shit at it as I thought I was, and becoming accepting of who you are without those identities that you used to carry. So imagine it as, okay, I'm married to a veteran. He has more than said I can share his story as many times as I would like. His identity was in, I am a soldier. I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier. Even a decade out, I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier. That was his identity. And to lose that identity, that being part of the ego death, it is scary. It is scary, 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 because it's like, well, who am I? What do I do? Where do I go? I have no clue. And that's what I hear a lot with people, and like trying to release that ego, but the ego is what stands in your way of becoming your full and true potential.
Really, and I hate to use the word like crisis of identity, or that kind of phrase, but crisis of identity, where the deal is you realize that you're not your identity. That's the crisis of the identity, right? Like, I am not my identity. Oh shit. Then who am I? Right? Where's that? I like that. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I like it. Bachelorette number one. What is the greatest quality humans possess?
Oh, I love this question, but I also don't love this question. So I'll be honest with you. Humans, they possess an amazing quality for love, but they don't use it. So that quality inside, if they can break into it, is incredible. But a lot of us believe that, misery and suffering are natural conditions, or that, man is inherently evil. That's so not true. Man is actually inherently loving and compassionate. And it's a whole change of perspective on it, for sure. Like going from, wait, I've been told this my whole life. But no, I mean, man is definitely inherently divine, powerful, intelligent being, full of unconditional love and compassion.
I think when you were looking at your youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's what we see if we're paying attention, if we stop and pause for a second at our children. And we're like, well, how did I become like such a jerk when like it started off like this way, right? Or, what happened along the way to everybody. And so I think that, the greatest quality that we possess, it certainly could be love. And, I always think maybe divine love, right? We have that inspiration inside of us that's it's always available. And I think that if you cultivate it to a certain sense and fan into a flame, it could really do a lot of awesome things.
100%. Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
So, well, I mean, is there anything, I guess, that we didn't hit on that you wanted to share out with us today, Kim?
Honestly, I just want to tell everybody that I love you all. Y'all are so amazing, and I hope that you can see inside of you what you truly are.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, it's a challenge, especially because we've been told so many other different things. And Kim's right. Inside of you, you've got something that once you catch hold of it and once you see it for yourself, that there's really kind of there's no return from that. No return. Well, Kim, thanks so much for being on. Appreciate what you're doing. I think it's really cool that you're able to offer the Akashic record sessions. I think that's great. You're able to help other people to learn how to activate it for themselves. And looking forward to hearing more about you in the future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brandon. Truly appreciate you.
Oh, you know what we didn't do, Kim?
What?
We didn't tell where people can go find out more about you. Let's do that before we shut it down. So where can people find out more about you?
All right. So you can either go to my website, which is www.solelytransformation.com, because I absolutely love puns. It's one of my little quirks. And I'm also on Facebook. Solely Transformation is my page. And then I'm also on Instagram at Solely Kimberly.
Awesome, Kim. Thanks again for being on today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brandon.
Really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Spiritual Dope Podcast. Stay connected with us directly through spiritualdope.co. You can also join the discussion on Facebook, Spiritual Dope, and Instagram at spiritual_dope. If you would like to speak with us, send us an email through brandon@spiritualdope.co. And as always, thank you for cultivating your mindset and creating a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking part of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay fully up to date. Until next time, be kind to yourself and trust your intuition.